If I had a nickel for every time a social dancer told me that social dancing would make me a better dancer, I'd probably have enough money to buy my next ballroom dress. But suggest competing as a path to improvement to a die-hard social dancer, and the idea is often dismissed as ridiculous or worse, offensive. So today, we're going to talk about a question that sits right at the center of that tension. Which is more important to becoming the best dancer you can be? Social dancing or competitive dancing? Hey, it's your pal, the Dancing Housewife, and welcome to another episode of the Dancing Housewife podcast, where we talk about everything you ever wanted to know about the art, heart, sport, and science of ballroom dance, but we're afraid to ask. Today, we're stepping right into one of those subtle cultural divides in the ballroom world. Social dancers and competitive dancers sometimes view dancing through very different lenses. And if you spend enough time around both groups, you'll start to notice a pattern. Social dancers will often say things like, "You should really social dance more. It will make you a better dancer." And that suggestion is usually framed as helpful advice. But if you gently suggest to a committed social dancer that they might want to try competing, more often than not, you'll get a response along the lines of, "Oh no, that's not for me," which raises an interesting question. If social dancing is essential for competitive dancers to maximize their potential, why isn't competing equally valuable for social dancers? Let's unpack it. Before we can even compare social dancing and competitive dancing, we have to clarify something important. What does it actually mean to be a good dancer? Or even better, what does it mean to become the best dancer you can be? Because ballroom dancing isn't just one environment. There are actually several different dance worlds: the social dance floor, the studio lesson and the studio practice environment, the competition dance floor, and each one rewards different skills. A dancer who thrives socially may feel completely out of their element at a competition, and a strong competitor might feel a little awkward at a crowded social dance full of strangers. That doesn't mean either dancer is lacking. It just means the context in which one dances changes what skills matter most. Social dancing develops lead and follow skills. When you dance with many different partners, you learn how to listen through your body, adjust pressure and tone, interpret signals quickly, and experienced social dancers often become very good at floorcraft because they're used to reading the floor. They know how to navigate crowded spaces and unpredictable traffic. These are real skills, and they absolutely contribute to becoming a more versatile and stronger dancer. Competitive dancing develops a very different set of abilities. It emphasizes technical development, a specific standard of execution, and performance quality. When you compete, the focus becomes more specific. Elements like posture, footwork, timing, body mechanics, shaping, swing, sway, and musical expression are trained to a much higher level of technical precision. Competition also demands performance under pressure. You're stepping onto a dance floor where judges are evaluating you in real time. You learn to project energy, stay composed, perform even when your adrenaline is high, and you also develop floorcraft at speed. Unlike social dancers who can dial the intensity up or down depending on the conditions around them, competitors are often forced to navigate crowded heats while dancing full choreography at full throttle. It's a very different environment and occasionally a contact sport. And that fact pushes competitive dancers to refine their technique and performance skills in ways that social dancing simply doesn't demand. Now, here's the interesting part. In the dance community, the advice tends to flow mostly in one direction. Social dancers often encourage competitors to social dance, but competitive dancers rarely walk into a social dance environment and start telling people they should compete. And part of that is respect for different goals, but it also reveals something deeper. Social dancers often perceive the spontaneity of lead follow as the pure or authentic version of dancing, while competing is viewed as too structured, too intense, too serious, too expensive. But historically speaking, a great deal of ballroom technique has actually been developed and refined through competitive training systems. Competition has long been one of the primary ways we push technical boundaries and elevate standards not only in dance, but in every pursuit: art, music, sports, and business. So the idea that competition somehow doesn't contribute to becoming a strong dancer doesn't really hold up under scrutiny. And this is where I'm going to offer a little Dancing Housewife truth bomb. Most folks are generally gracious about dismissing the idea of competing. But on more than one occasion, I have been met with impertinence from diehard social dancers when the topic of competition comes up. And it usually sounds something like this: I know I'm a good dancer. I don't need to compete to prove it. Now, let's pause there for a second, because that statement is interesting to me. First of all, if someone truly has no interest in competing, that's completely fine. Competition is not for everyone. It's expensive, it's intense, and it requires a level of commitment that many people simply don't want in their dancing life. But here's the part that sometimes makes me raise an eyebrow. Very often, the same dancers who say they don't need to compete to prove anything are the first ones to tell competitive dancers that they need to social dance in order to become better dancers. So on the one hand, we have, you should social dance, it will make you a better dancer. But on the other hand, I don't need to compete to prove I'm a good dancer. See the irony? One group is being told they need to participate in the other group's activity to become better, but the reverse suggestion is often dismissed immediately. And here's the reality. Competition isn't about proving your worth as a human being or even proving that you're a good dancer. Competition is a testing ground. It's a place where your dancing is evaluated according to a standard. Sometimes you do well, sometimes you realize you have more work to do, but the process itself provides feedback that is very difficult to get in purely social environments. On a social dance floor, most people are being polite. They're there to have fun. Nobody is analyzing your rise and fall or the amount of time you spend on your standing leg or your shaping, and that's perfectly appropriate for that environment. But competition exists specifically to evaluate dancing. So when someone says, I don't need to compete to prove I'm a good dancer, my response usually is, you're absolutely right. You don't have to compete. But competition isn't really about proving something. It's about discovering where you actually are and how much further you can go. And for dancers who are curious about their potential, that can be a pretty powerful experience. So again, the question isn't whether everyone should compete. The question is, what kind of dancer do you want to become? And what environments will challenge you enough to keep you growing? The truth is that social dancers and competitive dancers typically want different experiences from their dancing. Competitive dancers are usually motivated by things like measurable improvement, structured training, performance opportunities, testing themselves under pressure. Social dancers often prioritize enjoyment, community, variety of partners, relaxed movement. Both approaches are completely valid, but they lead dancers to develop different strengths. Now let's come back to the original question. Which is more important to becoming the best dancer you can be, social dancing or competitive dancing? Well, the honest answer is that both can contribute to your development, but they develop different parts of your dancing. Social dancing expands adaptability and connection. Competing expands adaptability and connection, but it also pushes technique and performance. Neither one is automatically superior, but here's the part that sometimes gets overlooked. Competing provides a very structured feedback loop. You train, you prepare, you perform, and then you receive an outcome that tells you something about your current level, your strengths, and most importantly, what you need to do to continue to improve. That cycle can accelerate improvement in ways that purely casual social dance environments often don't. Ultimately, ballroom dancing is big enough to hold all of these approaches. You can compete seriously, dance socially every weekend, do a mix of both, or simply dance for personal enjoyment. But maybe the healthiest perspective is this. Instead of insisting that everyone dance the way you do, acknowledge that different dancers are pursuing different experiences. Some people want the adrenaline and challenge of the competitive dance floor. Others want the joy of dancing socially with many partners in a relaxed environment. Both paths keep people dancing. And in the end, that's what really matters. So, if someone ever tells you that the only way to become a good dancer is to social dance, you can smile and remember something important. Ballroom dancing isn't a single road. It's a whole network of paths. And the best path for you is the one that keeps you growing, keeps you curious, and keeps you excited to step onto the dance floor again. Thanks for tuning in today. If you're enjoying the Dancing Housewife podcast, hit the like button, drop a comment, share your favorite episode with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a ballroom tip. This is the Dancing Housewife signing off, and as always, happy dancing!